I think beyond question, one of the most interesting and intriguing teams looking ahead to the 2018 NFL Draft was going to be the Buffalo Bills. Like, no question. This is a team last year, they traded out of the 10th overall pick with the Kansas City Chiefs, got an extra first-round pick in 2018, so a team coming into it that had a first-round pick at pick 21 and then right again at pick 22, coming off of their first playoff appearance since the 1999 season. RoboSack FTW! Then they trade Cordy Glenn to the Cincinnati Bengals. They move up from 21 to 12. So you're talking about a team with 2 picks in the top 22 in this draft, 1 at 12, 1 at 22, 2 second-round picks, and then with the Tyrod Taylor deal to the Cleveland Browns, have the first pick in round 3. So you've got 5 of the top 65 picks in the draft. The Buffalo Bills were in a real position of power. There's no question. You'd love to be able to go into a draft, especially if it has a decent level of talent in it, with 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and the first pick in the 3rd round. That's a really damn strong position to be in, and it's a position that you would hope to God that your organization doesn't find a way to screw up. Because if they do screw it up, you're going to feel the price for that, the cost for that for a long time to come. I don't think the Bills screwed it up. I know it may not necessarily reflect in the win-loss column in 2018, but I did understand and like the approach that the Bills took in this draft. Now, first and foremost, we knew going into this. We knew. Maybe not automatically who the quarterback was going to be, but we knew with them moving up to 21 to 12 that the Bills had a quarterback in mind. It's the only reason you would make that kind of awkward deal sending Cordy Glenn to the Cincinnati Bengals, moving up from 21 to 12. You're doing that because you're trying to get closer to make it easier to go get your quarterback. And there is no question that the Bills have been searching for a true franchise quarterback ever since the Jim Kelly days, and that's just the way it is. You know, let's be real here. Tyrod Taylor is a guy you can win some games with, but he's not a guy you're going to win many games because of. And as a result, your upside is kind of capped. It's peaked. How much more are you really going to get? You're going to get maybe at best exactly what the Bills were last year, a team that magically got themselves into the playoffs thanks to the Bengals. Of all things, it almost feels like they're rewarding them with the Cordy Glenn trade. It's like, we got your back. But beyond that, then they go to the playoffs and their offense lays an egg against the Jaguars. That's what it feels like the Bills' upside and ceiling currently was, and that's not what you're trying to have. So yes, it seems odd that they're in a bit of a rebuild mode coming off of a playoff appearance, but it feels like it's the right thing to do. So ultimately, we all knew that they were going to go for a quarterback. Which one remained to be seen. A lot of talk. Are they going to trade up to where the Giants are at number 2? Are they going to trade up to where the Browns are at number 4, where the Broncos are at number 5? Well, they didn't have to do any of that. They only had to go up to where Tampa was at number 7 to get their guy. Now, whether or not Josh Allen ended up being the number 1 quarterback on the board for them overall, who knows? We'll probably never really truly know the answer. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But he was their guy enough for them to go up from 12 to 7 and give up picks 53 and 56 in round 2 to make sure that they got him. And I look at this very simply for the Bills. Josh Allen, agree with me or not, was my number 1 quarterback in this draft. No quarterback in this draft had more upside than him. Lamar Jackson, close second. Lamar Jackson, of course, didn't also have the racist tweets from the high school and early college days like Josh Allen did. But you're looking at this, and to get potentially your guy, to get my number 1 quarterback in this draft, instead of having to go up to 2, instead of having to go up to 4, instead of having to go up to 5, you only had to go up to number 7. That's nice work if you can get it. It's outstanding because the Bills were able to keep their other first-round pick and still be able to get their quarterback. It's also great because they didn't have to sabotage their 2019 draft in order to go up and get the quarterback that maybe perhaps they should have just taken last year at pick 10 in Patrick Mahomes. It's funny, they trade out of the position to take Mahomes last year to now take Josh Allen after trading up this year. But new regime, we're going to find out ultimately if it works or not. What the real surprise to me was was that Tremaine Edmunds dropped to where he did at pick 16, and ultimately the Buffalo Bills made the move to say, hey, we're going to go up and get him. And I applaud him for it. This is a guy that had no business falling out of the top 10, and you get him at pick 16. Again, without having to heavily impact your 2019 draft. That's great work. They got 2 of the top 16 picks in this draft. And to me, 2 of the top 5 players in this draft. Excuse me, top 10 players in this draft. Now, I understand maybe some Bills fans are kind of concerned about Josh Allen. And don't get me wrong, you know, when you find out what you find out about the social media stuff, maybe it's a lesson to all of us to actually look at these guys and what they've tweeted before. That was just a massive miss by everybody in the media and on draft Twitter. Like, you would think we would know better to look at some of these guys and see what they've tweeted in the past. And this one slipped through the cracks until the night before the draft. And I will always wonder if the Bills released that story in part because they wanted Allen to drop just enough because they still loved him to where they wouldn't have to give up the farm to go up and get him. And if you think I'm crazy, just know that that type of stuff happens all the time. There's sabotage, misinformation, all of that. There's a reason it got released so close to the draft process. Somebody put it out there. And who better to put that out there than the Buffalo Bills? Even if you're talking about some of the PR that goes along with that. Look, at the end of the day, the stupid, idiotic stuff that he tweeted about, trying to be funny, not being funny. You could say, well, you attribute it to being a young kid. Well, you could be 17 or 18 years old and not say dumb, racist crap. Let's also be realistic. A lot of athletes do a lot of dumb, bad, stupid things. Not just that, but all types of things. And if they ultimately produce, that is all that matters. Whether you like it or not, agree with it or not, that is the reality. And it's going to be incumbent upon Josh Allen to be able to win over that Buffalo Bills locker room early on and establish what type of person he actually really is. And it's going to be important for him to make sure that he watches himself better going forward. But I loved what they did here with trading up to pick 7, not having to give up the farm to get Josh Allen, trading up from 22 to 16 to get Tremaine Edmunds, who was a stud. It's like either him or Derwin James at that point in time. Either way, I didn't feel like you could go wrong. So I feel like they got 2 potential studs here. The rest of the draft was kind of Harris and Phillips late in round 3. I feel like he's more role player than big-time starter. Taron Johnson, Siran, Neal feel like rotational guys that may be starters down the road, but don't have huge upside to me at this point. Wyatt Teller's probably the most fascinating of the remaining picks that aren't Josh Allen or Tremaine Edmunds. I think this is a guy that if you get him right, he's going to be a future starter inside at guard. So he's probably pretty good value in round 5 here. I think for Bills fans that are concerned, like, oh, we took Josh Allen, and then we took Tremaine Edmunds. If it bothers you that much, just flip the order of the picks. Would you feel a lot better if Tremaine Edmunds went 7 and Josh Allen went 16? Because ultimately, does it matter one way or another? Not really. If you say, well, you didn't like the fact they gave up that many picks, well, ultimately, they had no choice. They had to come out of this draft with a quarterback. That's the only thing that mattered to them. They needed one really, really badly. They were one of the 4 teams that absolutely had to come out of this draft with a quarterback, along with the Browns, along with the Jets, and along with the Cardinals. The Bills were right there in the mix. And they got their guy. And they better hope, like I believe he can be, that he becomes that guy. Because this could be a seminal moment in the history of the Bills organization one way or another. The class overall is not outstanding, but if Allen and Edmunds become studs, Allen becomes your franchise quarterback, Edmunds becomes a Pro Bowl type player, and Wyatt Teller becomes a future starter inside, and a couple of the other picks contributed all, then this was still a good, productive Buffalo Bills draft class.